Now we're going to talk about writing a news report. What are you going to have to do when writing a news report on the OSSLT? Well, you're going to have to require a news report based on the picture and headline provided. So they will give you the headline and they will give you a picture that is usually pretty boring that you will write an article about. Students must find a link between the headline and the photograph that could be used as an event for a report that would appear in a newspaper. Students are given one lined page for your written work. What are they looking for in this task? Well, they want you to be able to answer the questions of who, what, where, when, why, and how event, thing, news story happened. They want your response to be related to the picture and the headline. The response needs to contain sufficient and specific information and facts related to the event. Let's just talk briefly about this one. You are making up these details. So when you get the task, there will not be any facts that you need to understand. These are facts that you make up. So you're writing fake news at this point. You don't need to have any other kind of real information. So you can make up things like quotes or dates and stuff like that. Your response needs to be coherent and organized. And we're going to talk about the organization because it's a very important part. Your response needs to be written in the third person with a reportorial tone, which means that it needs to sound official. You cannot use I, me in your work, so no personal pronouns, and it has to sound as though you are conveying facts. Grammar, spelling, punctuation, and sentence structure are correct. The best way to do this is to plan. You need to think about how you're going to organize your answer. Today, what I want you to do is understand first that you are definitely going to have to write a news report. Come to terms with that. And to start thinking in terms of how a news report is organized and how you can plan your answer out to get the best possible score. So one of the ways to do that is to use this acronym WHAT. So the W is the who, what, where, when. The H is the how did it happen or why did it happen. A is adding details and attributions. So things like quotations, examples, and details to help develop your news report. And then the final thing is you need to tie it up with some kind of a conclusion. It doesn't have to be a conclusion in the sense of an essay where you restate your main points. Remember, with a news report, we're looking for very, very short paragraphs. Paragraphs that are about 1 to 2 sentences. So, what does this organizer look like? This. So in the reading a news report section, we talked about how news reports are organized in an inverted pyramid, which basically, for our purposes, looks like an upside-down triangle. So each one of these sections, I want you to think about as the level of information. The most important information goes at the beginning, and then the remaining paragraphs are kind of in receding importance. The goal of your news report should be that if the person reads only the first paragraph, they know the basic facts of your story. Think about it in terms of when can the reader stop reading and still understand what your story is about. On the OSSLT, you will get a page that looks something like this for your news report. Notice you don't get any other facts, so they're not going to give you any information other than the title or headline and a picture. And the picture is usually something that is pretty general and innocuous that looks like something from clip art or from the internet, because that's probably what it is. So you're going to have a blank page like this and a rough notes page like this. Let's switch over to the rough notes. So here is the headline. It says students raise money for a good cause, and I'm going to use my rough notes to create my planner. So this is what my rough notes look like. So I've got the title here that they have given me, the headline, and I've got my what planner on the side. I have who, Vaughan students, what, walkathon, where, Thornhill, when, February 27th, why, they're going to raise money for cancer for loved ones. And all of the added details, the principal's going to quote, I'm going to talk about how cold it is outside. And then what am I going to do for the tie-up? I'm going to talk about how people reading the article can help. Using this planner, I'm going to write my article. I know that this is a bit hard to read, but what I want to point out to you first is some of the visual elements that they're going to be looking at before we go into what it actually says. Notice that I am indenting all of my paragraphs. This is important because it helps distinguish all of the paragraphs. Some of you may have problems fitting in all you need to write on the page. It allows you to indicate different paragraphs without having to skip a line. One of the other things that I want to point out is that I'm using the entire page. Unfortunately, with the OSSLT, it does matter how much you write. If you have a significantly shorter article, that's bad. If you go over, they may not mark what is not on the lines. What you want to aim for is an article that is between 3/4 and the full page. I know that this is kind of difficult to read, so I'm going to type it out for you. So what's written out there is Thornhill. Last Thursday, February 28th, 2019, a group of Vaughan Secondary School students held a walkathon in their community to raise money for the Canadian Cancer Society in support of loved ones with breast cancer. Who? Vaughan Secondary School students. Where? In Thornhill. When? Last Thursday. What did they do? They had a walkathon. It is amazing to see young people in our community taking charge and creating events for such a good cause, said Principal Maria Mayato during the walkathon. Quote, with bright smiles on their faces, mothers, sisters, fathers, brothers, grandparents came out to the walkathon and pledged money. The students were amazed to see how many community members came out for the event despite the cold weather and snow. The freezing temperatures may even have ended up helping the walkathon in the end. Hot chocolate sales were through the roof, said organizing committee member Jane Doe. Students are continuing to reach out to the community. Anyone who would like to be part of future events or to pledge money can contact students at vss@wiredsb.ca. To help you out, I've included this checklist of required elements for a news article. You want to clearly identify a single event that you make up that's related to the picture and the headline. You have to add details to the answer, and these details have to answer the questions of who, what, where, when, why, and how. The news report needs to be divided logically into paragraphs of no more than 1 to 2 sentences. The paragraphs need to be indented. You have to use transitional words to link the events, like later, next. I have included quotes from participants in the story. I have used complete sentences and written at least 3/4 of a page. I have used correct spelling, grammar, and punctuation. I have just reported the facts, not your opinion. I have used the third person, he, she, they, not I or we. Now it's time for you to try.